Hey guys, welcome back to another deck profile. So I wasn't actually going to do a deck profile this week, but I didn't really have ideas for what to do. It's been kind of a down week lately. So I just kind of decided to do another deck profile on Fire King. Because realistically, not all of us have the money to be spending 700 plus dollars on the wanted sinful spoil package. Probably safe to assume most of you all don't have that kind of money, just like myself. So a couple weeks ago, almost a month I think at this point, I did a video deck profile on Fire King Tri-Brigade. And so I decided maybe we should explore maybe some of the other Fire King options. By no means are these decks that are going to win you a regional or win you a YCS, but these are just other possibilities, other things to play, so you can still enjoy Fire King, just maybe not to the super competitive level, but you can still like take these kind of decks to your locals. Tri-Brigade Fire King did just get toppings at a regional, so that one specifically does have the potential to do very well competitively. But this one in particular, maybe not so much. It's still experimental. It's just stuff I've been messing with over time, and I just personally like how it plays. So with that, I introduce you guys to Pure Fire King. So to start, we of course will have 3 of the legendary Fire King Ponics, because he is our 1-card starter. But we also will be running 3 of Fire King Avatar Arvada. I know like a lot of like the pure builds or even like Tri-Brigade builds will run 2 of this. I personally run 3 in the pure build because he's kind of your droll stopper. So the one thing about Fire King is it dies to droll like that, just dead. So you just normal summon Arvada and then do your searching, and you're protected from droll. It can also, if you can manage to get on the board and like you don't need your normal summon, you can normal summon this to kind of like prevent Nibiru as well. So there are a couple of utility things for Arvada, and at the end of the day, it also just helps with having more resources in the deck when you're popping shit out of the deck with Garunix. So one Barong, because you really don't need more than one. This card is a brick. You don't really ever want to see it in your hand. But you just pop this out of the deck on turn 1 with Garunix. That way you can search Kieran or just some other Fire King cards. There's other ways to get it back into the deck. And so overall, it's just a really good card. Again, it has recursion, and it's more just to set up for your next turn or your opponent's turn. 3 of Kieran, because he's the reason we can dodge Valor and Imperm. And then 2 Garunix. So in the Tri-Brigade build, I only ran 1, and that's just mainly because you really didn't need more than 1. But having 2 Garunix, especially with like Soul Release going around and stuff like that, having 2 Garunix in case they banish one of them out of your deck or out of your graveyard, just comes in handy. But that's really it for the Fire King monsters, so we're going to move on. As for the remaining monsters, we do have a small Kashtira package. We have Kashtira Fenrir and Kashtira Riseheart. Kashtira Fenrir, he's just the best. He's the best card in the game right now. Second best card in the game. Little Knight is the best card. Fenrir's right behind her. But Riseheart, we took a note out of Vanquish Soul's book. We took a page out of their book. And Fenrir is also here to search Riseheart, and we can use Riseheart to our advantage because Riseheart is a fire monster. So we can use Fenrir to fix bad hands, because if you pop a monster with Island and you search Garunix, as I learned the hard way, you have to make sure the monster you pop is a fire monster. If you just pop any monster, you can't summon that Garunix. So, yeah, we just want Riseheart. Also, Riseheart does come in handy. Just being able to banish those top 3 cards off your top of your opponent's deck face down sometimes actually comes in clutch. I don't run any rank 7s in the deck to like be able to do some like Xyz plays with this. However, you are able to do something like that. You can make like Master of Blades or something. Master of Blades, in my opinion, is a really good card to counter SP Little Knight. However, at the end of the day, I just don't run any rank 7s. So the remaining monsters that are not hand traps, I run 2 Vanadium Torrid. This card's dumb. I could run it at 3, however, it is a brick if I open too many of it, and also realistically, we're only getting its effect off once. So ideally, this card, you just pop it with Fire King Island, search Garunix, and then on resolution, you can summon Garunix and use Torrid's effect to summon the second Torrid, and that's a free Baron. So that's really all there is to Torrid. I have seen a lot of people, again, run 3 if they're doing Torrid, but I don't think that's good, because if you top deck the third one, you're probably just losing at that point. As for hand traps, I do run, of course, 3 Ash Blossom Joyous Spring, because it is the best hand trap ever. We run 3 Ghost Bell, because Ghost Bell is seeing a lot of play in this format. It hits stuff like Wanted, and there's a lot of graveyard movement for Fire Kings. Just overall, Ghost Bell is really good, but also it does counter Soul Release. So we're main decking it. We want to see this card. And then I do run 2 Nibiru. The perks about Nibiru is that not a lot of decks are respecting it, and it kills Fire Kings. Fire Kings do their whole turn 1 board, and you just slap the rock on them. Nibiru does not destroy, it just sends or tributes. So overall, Nibiru is really good. And again, a lot of the other meta decks are just not respecting Nibiru, and Nibiru hits hard. I only run 2 because running 3 has bit me in the ass more times than I can count. So it's more of a comfort pick than anything. As for spells, we of course run 3 of the Sanctuary and 2 of the Island. This is kind of the ratio you see in all Fire King decks. Sanctuary, it gets you 2 islands, so obviously you don't need the third island. You only want 2 islands because realistically you don't want to see it. But at the same time, if they get rid of 1, you still want to make sure you have the second. But my only problem with Sanctuary is, yes, it does protect island, but personally it just kind of feels like a dead card most times. Obviously your opponent, can... It does also make it so you can Exceed Summon on your opponent's turn, which does come in handy. I just feel like it doesn't do enough, but I don't know, maybe I'm just playing wrong. But yeah, Fire King Island, again, if they get rid of 1, you want to have the second. As for the other remaining Fire King cards, I do run 2 Skyburn and 1 Circle of the Fire King. A lot of people don't expect the second Skyburn. Second Skyburn comes in handy a lot. I know most decks probably run the 1, but this card is cracked. This card is actually broken. And it's kind of like branded opening in the sense that if your opponent's going to destroy your fire monsters by card effect, you can just banish it. But also, it does protect you from Fire King Island's effect, where it will pop your whole board if it is sent to the graveyard or banished. Cosmic Cyclone is running around in the format because of this card specifically. So if they banish the Cosmic Cyclone, it is mandatory to pop your whole board. Skyburn can protect you from that. So, and then Circle... it's another way to dodge Impermanent Veiler, but also just kind of set up more just moving around cards in the graveyard. And then for the last 3 spells, we do run Super Poly. Super Poly is going crazy in this format right now, and I had extra spots in the extra deck and in the main deck, so why not? Super Poly just breaks boards. You just hit Dragon Link, you hit Fire King, and most likely you're summoning a Garua or a Mud Dragon. It's just crazy. And then the last 3 cards in the deck are Imperm. So we just want to make sure we're running a lot of hand traps, a lot of non-engine hand traps. So we're pretty much trying to prevent a board, but at the same time, we have that Super Poly to break the board. The extra deck is a little bit messy, mainly because Fire Kings, for the most part, don't do a lot of extra deck stuff. And if they do, it's most likely to Link. But we do have 2 of Garunix Eternity. I know most people probably only run 1 of this. I feel like in the Pure, you have to run 2. This card's just crazy, especially if you get rid of the first one. You might, depending on the grind game, you might want to pop the whole board a second time. So I really like 2 Garunix Eternities. I also run 1 Gaga Cowboy. This is for game, or sorry, this is for like time plays. You can manipulate the board so you end on 2 Arvadas. There is just that possibility, but also you could just make this raw with like Arvada and Rise Heart and go into Gaga Cowboy, slap them for some damage. As for the remaining XCs, number 1 Infection Buzz King, the collector's rare, of course. This card's crazy. You can literally just summon this on your opponent's board and just say, oh hey, I am Diablosis, the fucking Mind Hacker, and hit their extra deck. This card's just actually crazy, especially summoning it on your opponent's turn with Sanctuary. And then the last one is Typhon. I hate Typhon. I really hate it, but I'm willing to admit it does come in clutch in some scenarios. I think this card is not as good as a lot of people hype it up to be. I think it's too specific of a scenario, but those scenarios do come up. And because of that, I did put it in the deck. As for Link monsters, we do run one Link Karibo and one Salaman Great Almirage for our Link 1s. Almirage is if we have Circle in hand, so that way we can kind of move some stuff around. But also, it does just come in handy every so often. Link Karibo is for Heat Soul plays, which we do run the Sunlight Wolf and the Heat Soul as well. This is just if we want to draw a card. Technically two, because on our opponent's board. Mirror match, we have Hita, but also, it does just rip Ash Blossom out of grave as well. So Hita does have some plays as well. We don't run any other Link 3, so it's like once Hita kind of rips it out, we don't really go anywhere from there. But the one way we can go is Little Knight. I run 2 Little Knights. They get rid of one, then we have the other. One thing I've noticed about Fire Kings is that Kashtira is a very problematic matchup. Because you activate a lot of your stuff in hand to summon the stuff from your hand, so that way, on resolution, they can just kind of Fender or Unicorn. And so most likely, Little Knight always kind of gets ripped from the extra deck, so I always run the second one just in case they rip one. I still have the other to fall back on. But also just in the grind game, a second Little Knight will just most likely win you the game. We run one Baron de Fleur, because, like I said, we have Vanadium. We have the Vanadium Tord exclusively for Baron de Fleur. That is the only reason that we even run Baron, is because of Vanadium Torrid. And then we have our 2 Super Poly targets, Garua and Mud Dragon. I have considered running a second Mud Dragon, because it does come in handy. Mud Dragon can change its attribute to Fire, and then you can go from plays with Fire King Island with that, or even make plays with, like, Skyburn and Graveyard. So Mud Dragon does have a lot of utility in this deck, more than just a super poly target, but I haven't quite cracked down on whether or not I want to run that second copy. So with the side deck, I'm sure people who watch all my deck profiles are sick of hearing me say this, but the side deck should not be like a 1-to-1 ratio. If you're net decking, your side deck should be tailored more for what you're expecting at your regionals or your locals, but you can of course take what I say as a recommendation for good things to put in your side deck, depending on your matchups. So for me, I have 3 Droll and Lockbird, because Droll and Lockbird is a devastating card. It kills the mirror match. It kills Vanadium, which is still a very good, and very prevalent deck. But Droll and Lockbird does not win every matchup right now, so that's why we run it in the side deck. Because some matchups you just don't want to see this card, so I just take it out the deck entirely. I run 3 of Forbidden Droplet. I originally had this in the main deck, but I just kind of got to the point where Forbidden Droplet just wasn't what I needed it to be in the main deck. Forbidden Droplet's kind of there for breaking boards, so I decided that I'll put that in when going second. But then I also have 3 Evenly Matches, because that is just the ultimate board breaker, and Evenly Match is going very hard in this current format. 2 Pankratops. I feel like ever since Pank got put to 2, everyone puts 2 Pankratops in their deck, and that's because this card's crazy. Anti-Spell Fragrance is a hell of a card, and it's killing the format, so you just summon Pank, pop it off the board, and proceed to play the game. Then we have 3 Cosmic Cyclone. Again, Anti-Spell is a hell of a card, but also this is for the mirror match. You just hit the Fire King Island field spell, and most likely you just watch their board wipe away. Now, of course, depending on their end board, it could still get them more stuff on their board, but you're forcing effects out of them before they want to use them. So this card also just kind of kills Runic. So yeah, and then of course Harpy Feather Duster. We still needed the 1 blowout card, because Labyrinth is very much still a thing. And with transaction rollback, it's even more of a thing. So we're going to show off a test hand of how the deck works, which I'm sure many of you have seen 1,000 different ways that Fire King works at this point. But the deck does have some minute interactions depending on what we open with. But we're of course, like usual, going to assume that we are going first and that our opponent has 0 interruptions. So with that, let's just begin. We open, of course, Super Poly, Nibiru, Garunix, Horrid, and Fire King Ponix. This is like the most ideal hand that we could possibly have. So we are going to, of course, start by normal summoning Fire King Ponix to search out Fire King Sanctuary. We will then, of course, activate Fire King Sanctuary to pull the Fire King Island from the deck. And we'll go Fire King Island effect to pop the Torrid in our hand to search out a Fire King monster. Now, normally I would search out Garunix here, but there's absolutely no need for it. So we will just search out Fire King Avatar Kirin. And then on resolution, we will go Garunix 1, Torrid 2. So Torrid will summon Torrid from the deck, and Garunix will summon. Garunix will pop a card from the deck. We will pop the Barong, so we have follow-up for next turn. And then we will just Synchro Summon into the Baron de Fleur. And from there, I mean, we're pretty set up at that point. We just set Super Poly and kind of just end on that. There's not really much to this. Like, that was a very short test hand, but like, there's really just not a lot to this. On our opponent's standby phase, we'll search off of Barong to get probably just a Garunix or even an Arvada, because Arvada can come and play with the Kirin. So most likely, what we have here is that we have the ability to go Kirin, pop Arvada to summon Kirin. And then we'll go Arvada effect to revive Barong and Garunix. Sorry, to revive, didn't even have that on camera. Revive Barong and Garunix, and then we have the ability to make Garunix Eternity when our opponent special summons. But we have Baron and Super Poly and Nibiru. Like, realistically, they're just not they're not doing a board here. This, like I said, this was like the most ideal like hand that we could have possibly did for a test hand, because like it's something, you know, obviously you're not going to see Torrid sometimes. That's just a given. But this was a pretty insane test hand. But yeah, so let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And like I said, I kind of want to explore more of the Fire King options for, you know, people who can't afford the $700 wanted package and stuff like that. Because I'm one of those people, and I don't think that people should be deterred to play Fire King. It's a very, very fun deck and has a lot of versatility. There's a lot of just fire going around, and even if you can't afford the new stuff coming out, that doesn't mean you shouldn't be allowed to play this deck. So yeah, so if you have other things, that other Fire King decks that you want me to build and show here on the channel, let me know in the comments below. But with that, I'll see you all guys in the next video. See ya.